All right, we are set. We are here. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Rosie.
Happy
I'm
Friday.
So happy.
Yeah, good to be with you. And this is our third conversation in the Building Beloved Community Among Women series. And like the last one, this is an audio conversation. And so we will be capturing that audio and putting it up on LinkedIn afterwards for everyone who is out and about on this Friday, first day of summer afternoon. But I'm glad to be with you here. And hi to Marla and others who will listen in after the fact. Let's talk about beloved community. It feels like that is needed so acutely. Every time I look in the news, I just am like, can I just not be in this metaverse? Can I be in a different plane and dimension, please? And I think the dimension that I'm looking for is a beloved one, you know?
Definitely. I feel the exact same way, Rosie. And that's why I think it's just so important at this time that we create spaces like this one.
Yeah.
So that we're not always just fighting against the existing reality, but we're actually building the reality that we want to be a part of that has absolutely nothing to do with this reality.
Right. I mean, when the times are tough, and this has been a kind of difficult week in my world, the thing that I try to do, and hi to Sima, Stacy, and Carla. How lovely to see you. My goodness. Is when things get really bad, I always go back to the origin story of Brave Sis Project for me, which was I was coming out of an excruciatingly difficult personal moment, even much worse than now. And a foremother voice came to me and said, tell our story. And it was like a presence that came in. And that was the origin of me doing all of the research I did on first just Black and brown women, and then pretty soon thereafter Asian and Indigenous. And it really was like something was telling me to dig in more deeply into my moment and have faith and have courage and be brave. That's why I called it Brave Sis Project. So these days, I've been really living for Fannie Lou Hamer. And I just watched the old documentary about Shirley Chisholm, not the new one on Netflix. It's a little takes some liberties with facts and representation. But the real documentary about Shirley Chisholm's 1972 campaign for the presidency. And it even included some images, some interviews with her as an older woman without the wig, with her regular old gray hair. And, I was just like, what they faced in their time was extremely terrible. And as much as we face so many endemic issues now, so many barriers to anything we could consider beloved community, they had it worse, because back in their day, you and I would not have been as easily able to sit together and have the kind of conversations we have, and have women and men, of course, across race, culture, class, come together to lay out of a shared vision. That wasn't even physically safe back then. So I gotta remember that, Remember, we made progress.
And it's because Shirley Chisholm had the courage to do what she did that we are able to do this today. We are standing on her shoulders.
Absolutely.
And I feel like it's our responsibility to build on her legacy and to make it better for the next generation of women the way she made it for us.
Absolutely. I have a t-shirt, a Brave Sis t-shirt in the Brave Sisterhood, what did I call them? Sistery Lessons shop that says, we stand on the shoulders of giants. Because it's true. Well, speaking of
giants, look at who is in this room. Hello.
This is wonderful. Do you want to say a
This
few
is
words to
my
folks?
beloved community right here.
Ah.
I'm so grateful for you listening in, and please join us if you want. This is a nice thing about doing an audio. Not only do we not have to put our lipstick on, but anyone can hop up on stage. It's not just us. So if you want
Yeah.
to join us up here, please, Marla, Stacy, Sima, Carla, Erica, thank you so much for joining us right now.
So great. And so, you know, what we've been doing this is the third of 4 in this series, is we've been talking about some of the tenets of beloved community. And we'll get into how we made that selection and what they are in just a minute. But just for anyone for whom this is the first time in this particular space, I wanted to just share a little of the background of beloved community. It was a theory that was first formulated in 1913 by a Harvard philosophy professor named Josiah Royce. And he wrote of a place where everyone worked toward the cause of loyalty and truth. Now, the concept of beloved community is most widely associated with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who deeply admired Royce and expanded upon his philosophy, adding in the imperatives of the civil rights era. I love this quote. I just need this quote. King asked his followers to strive for a goal of reconciliation, saying, "The end is redemption. The end is the creation of a beloved community." It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opposers into friends. It is this kind of understanding and goodwill that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles. And I just, I usually go on to talk about the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a friend of MLK Jr.'s, and after his murder, took up the mantle of the philosophy, extending it to all living creatures. But I want to leave really it there today for that quote of Martin Luther King Jr.'s, and just that last line again. I just think it's so important. The end is redemption. The end is the creation of a beloved community. It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opposers into friends. It is this kind of understanding and goodwill that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles. And I think we need a few miracles right now. So let's dive into it. Do you want to share a little bit more about Dr. Arthur A. Wright and just sort of the articulation of the beloved community framework? Yeah.
And while you've been talking, Rosie, I went to people's direct messages and I sent them the link to the Dr. Arthur E. Wright article on the 25 traits of beloved community. So that should be in folks' direct message. I don't have you. I'm not connected to you so long, so I did not send it to you. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. But I sent it. I'm connected to the rest of them, so I sent it to you in your direct message.
Yeah. So connect with Karen after the fact, and she'll get you that list.
Yes. And I going back to what you were saying about Dr. King, and something that I always try to keep in mind is how he wanted the end, the result he was seeking was reconciliation. And it wasn't to destroy the opponent, it was to win the opponent over to your side. And for everybody to sit down and break bread together. And that is so powerful. It's just so, it's just so different, to really see the humanity in everyone, including the people who oppose you.
my 26-year-old daughter is just on her way home back to New York, having been with us for a week here in Seattle, where I live. And last night she asked me, Mom, who did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a kid? And anyone who's seen my LinkedIn knows my answer wasn't very elogious. It was Erica Kane from the soap opera All My Children. I just love her. I mean, she's my spirit animal. Susan Lucci's amazing. She was audacious. She went for what she wanted. She didn't care. She used everything in her battery. I loved her. And so as we started talking about it, my husband started saying, oh, those were the days, everyone watched the soaps. And I said to my daughter, I have a theory. Remember when, and we're going to get into Beloved Community in a sec, but I think this is pretty interesting. When we had the first big writer strike, like in Hollywood, an actor strike, like 20 years ago or whatever it was, that's when they started using unscripted TV and unscripted and non-actor performers, meaning the beginning of reality TV. And as that ended up being cheaper to produce, the soaps became less and less viable. And so they started to die out, to be replaced by, reality shows, including one called The Apprentice, that has brought us so much grief. And I was positing that between the decline of people going to church, I'm not talking about religion, I'm just talking about that space of gathering together in community to uphold something bigger than your own individualized self. The disappearance of that, along with the rise of this, audacious, outrageous television creature getting praise for being outlandish, which led to today's sort of influencer world. I was like, well, that's really why we've stopped. That's how we are moved away from Beloved Community. And we're in a place that's like all about my glory, my individuality, my wealth, my fame, my desirability, my audaciousness. And it's so not Beloved. It's so none of the things that Martin Luther King Jr. said. And it was just very interesting to me at this age that I'm at to look back at things as sort of patterns in society and culture. And to realize, dang, that writer strike really was the beginning of the end in many ways. And so I'd love to see what we can bring back. I think I wanted to share that with people because I think you can find the impetus for making the change, the small little movements, in all sorts of unexpected places, right? The fact that my favorite TV person was a soap opera star, and then it made me think about how, like, when... what the heck are those people's name on One Life to Live when the dude and the girl got married and blah, blah, blah. Like, all of America watched that. We used to have these things where we all did the same thing, right? And to me, the difference is we used to all do the same thing, but black and brown people knew their place, which was subservient. And what we've seen in the past 25 years of people saying, no, I'm not going to be subservient like that. I'm going to be up in it. And that's where we started to have all these issues. That's my thought. Carla, let's get you in here. I think Karen has to get you in here. And then I promise we're going to go into the Beloved Community questions. Karen, are you able to hand over the mic? Oh, you know what? Hold on. Maybe I can. No, Carla, I see you and something has happened. Karen, come back. Don't go. Okay. Our host has to let you speak. I don't have that capacity. Your raised hand is seen. I'm going to text Karen just to make sure that her avatar is not a phantom. And she somehow got kicked off and is coming back in. Live radio. It's all good. I'm going to start with the first tenet of numbers 11 through 15. And Carla, I promise you we're going to get you back in. Let me just see what's going on. Hold on, friends. If you all can hear me, will you give me a little emoji bump? Okay. All right. So you can hear me, but Karen, I don't know. Maybe you want to just say something to see if we can hear you. All right. Well, look, y'all. I used to do radio. We're just going for it. Here we go. The number 11 is that beloved community. Oh, I should say beloved community. These 25 tenets, of which we've picked the 20 that resonate most with us, were developed by Dr. Arthur A. Wright, and we'll share that document. I think that's what she's already sent. She was writing about beloved community really as a religious construct, and so there are a few that are very, very pertinent to church environments, and I think that makes sense because it's beloved community, but we're pulling it out into more of a secular and everyday kind of construct that we can all use. Carla, let me say something too. Oh, now she's out, she's back in. Hopefully she's back. Hello, you're back. Excellent. I was just dancing a little boogie here while we waited for that. Carla had her hand up. If you are able to give her the mic really quickly before I go into number 11 through 15. Sorry, everyone.
Yes. Okay, this is really bad. I don't see the little button to invite you to speak, Carla.
Hold on. My. Okay, this is what we're going to do. You know, these apps, y'all, what I'm going to say, Carla, I think we are connected on LinkedIn. Send me a message and I will read your question aloud. And I apologize, darling. I don't even know what is the what with this. Moving on. Number 11, beloved community avoids physical aggression and verbal abuse. So to me, that one is really interesting, right? Because it kind of goes back to what I was just talking about in terms of the reality TV-ization of our society and the sort of, catfight world. And I think that is a behavior and an attitude that's very childish. It's exciting and it's woo, but it's really childish. And I don't think society can operate successfully as a childish construct. Schoolyard, nanny, boo-boo, I'm going to get you. It just feels like we've reached peak that. And that's one of the things that makes me hopeful that we can embrace beloved community and be different. Any thoughts on that one, Karen?
1,000%. 1,000%, to stop being so self-centered and so self-serving, and instead focus on the collective and really, what can I do for others?
Yep. What I think is also really worrisome about the physical aggression and verbal abuse, think of how normalized it's become to sort of betray each other, right? And to me, there's so much betrayal, and it's again linked to me, the individual, instead of a more indigenous worldview, which is much more collaborative and cooperative. I want to invite all of you to think about that. Hey, Randy, and hi, Natalia. And to think about a time when you might have felt compelled, because I'm living through this right now, right? I'm struggling to stay in beloved community, but I've had an offense happen that's got me really angry, and I'm really kind of seeing red and want blood, And part of what feels so uncomfortable to me is to be forced by externalities to step outside of that space that I prefer, which is a more caring, trusting, collaborative, co-creative space.
Yes, it's really hard when you have been recently hurt. And especially when you are a trusting, loving person, right? I try to always approach every person I meet with an open heart and an open mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when there's been trauma there, sometimes our protective nature, we want to protect ourselves by shielding and not being so open, or being very wary of other people.
It's kind of a human, it's the human instinct, right? The human animal instinct is to protect ourselves and those around us, right? That is very clear. And one of the things that I've always found really intriguing is, this idea of moving away from white supremacist culture, right? Which enjoys binaries so much, either or, black, white, yes, no. I think there's something very binary about saying you either are, a vicious attack dog or you are a pushover. There's definitely a lot of spaces in between, a lot of way stations in between those extremes, and I feel like the more we can commit to exploring them, the more we can model them, the more we can share with people, hey, there's a different way. Isn't that what mediation is about, in fact? So beloved community is a work in progress.
Yes.
I'm going to move on. Number 12. Resolves conflicts. Same thing. Resolve conflicts peacefully without violence. Recognizing that peacefully doesn't always mean comfortably for everybody. Let's talk about that whole thing that I often refer to as the need for white comfort. Right, because I think that's a huge piece in our society that pushes us into these binaries. And let us be clear that black and brown people live in the same society. We do the same things sometimes. So, speak in, my sister.
Yes. Well, I think also from a protective standpoint, as a survival mechanism, right?
Yep.
By centering white comfort, that's one strategy for success, and at least, or avoiding pain. And this is why white people remain in this kind of infantile state where we don't grow up. We don't grow up and live in the reality that everybody else lives in.
Or we even become complicit in normalizing that reality, which hurts us all. I forget which of the amazing foremothers, recently re-quoted that quote that racism hurts us all. Sexism hurts us all. Patriarchy hurts us all. All of these oppressions, all of these, I hear you, girl. All of these impressions hurt, discriminations, they hurt us all. And yet we've bought some kind of binary sense that if you win, I have to lose. And that's the actual big lie, right? And, there's also, in my view, a difference between peaceful resolution and the absence of discomfort, right? I mean, we're all humans on our journey, and sometimes we have to say things that are not pleasant, because if we don't share them, either an opportunity for advancement on our journey is lost, or we hold it inside in silence, and that creates all sorts of toxicities. Right. And I think that's something I really want us to spend time on during our retreat in just a few weeks, which is this idea that we can create spaces with ground rules about not doing harm and holding each other up, but we can also create a container for a couple of important revelations and conversations to take place that will unlock the greater shared potential that we can have together. It's not like we're going to do it all in the 2 days or 2.5 days that we have together, but I think we can at least try to start to model that as a norm.
Yes, 1,000%. And the idea that feedback is a precious gift. And when we are actually honest with each other, that is so helpful to each other.
It is. That's so hard. It's so difficult to accept that also. I think because we live in this paradigm of perfection, and anything less than being like, knock it out of the park off the bat without even knowing what you're there to do, we tend to turn that in on ourselves, right? So like, I've been struggling with feelings of sadness, anger, and fear this weekend. And I spoke to my daughter about it, my very wise 26-year-old, and she said, well, fear and sadness are bad because that's turning it in on yourself. Anger is turning it outward, but it's also a sign of seeking justice. And I was like, God, who raised this girl? Dang, and I think that is true. And I'm really interested in that idea, Karen. I want to mull on it a bit more as we finalize some of our prep for our coming together. How can anger actually be a tool for conflict resolution? I'm not a trained mediator or anything like that. So we're going to be looking at it from a purely practitioner, beginner's mind point of view. The 13th one on the list is that. Go.
Can I just say one thing?
You know it.
Audrey Ford has a great article, The Uses of Anger.
Mm-hmm.
Women responding to racism.
Mm-hmm.
And my response to racism is anger. I have lived with that anger, ignoring it, feeding upon it, learning to use it before it laid my visions to waste for most of my life. Once I did it in silence, afraid of the weight. My fear of anger taught me nothing. Your fear of that anger will teach you nothing also.
That's amazing. So that's also important for women. Sheila, I see your hand raised, and I'm hoping we can get you in the forum. If we can't, and you feel comfortable popping it in the comment, please do. And because who knows what the tech is the deal with this.
Hold on.
You figured it out?
I see it. I can allow to
All right,
speak.
let's let Sheila in and then go back to Carla. This is beautiful.
And Carla, yes, raise your hand.
Great.
That was the problem. I was trying to lift you up when you were down there, and it didn't give me allowed to speak. But now we're joined by Sheila. Oh no,
Sheila, come back. She's back down at the bottom.
Yes, and Marla direct messaged me, you cannot change what you won't acknowledge.
Completely. You can't change what you don't see. Lord have mercy. Is that the truth? All right, let's get Sheila back in. Erica's there, and then Carla as well.
Erica.
Okay, let's get Carla first. Sheila's hands up. Carla, get your hand up if you want, my dear. No pressure. Erica, come off mute. Courageous Conversations coach. Our kind of gal. Welcome.
Thank you. Honestly, I didn't mean to press the raise hand, but it's okay because I like to talk.
Well, we like to listen.
And I like to think I have a lot of great things to say. So with that being said, I'm going to go into righteous anger, right?
Please.
So I'm going to speak about it from a spiritual perspective and not from a specific Christian lens. Looking at it from the story of Jesus Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the New Testament, when he goes into the temple and the high priests are denigrating God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he uses what he calls righteous anger. It's characterized in the Bible as righteous anger, where he basically turns over tables, literally, and then he chastises them, and he gives them an opportunity to course correct their thinking and their action. So that ties into number 19, which is faith and action, right? In the beloved community, which I'm all about. So when we call ourselves faithful practitioners, whatever the title may be, whether it be a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Christian, those things are interlinked and intertwined, and they cannot be separated. When we are in beloved community with one another, in our spiritual practices, within our spiritual families, we are called to do greater and higher.
Ashe.
And we are called to go out, as the Bible says, and I'm a Christian, so I'm just going to put that out there. Go out to the hills, highways, and the hedges. And that means we do that without judgment. We do it in love, and we do it with love, so that we're not reckless and abusive, as Dr. King talked about. Power without love is reckless and abusive.
Exactly. Erica, who do you see? That was, thank you, right? I mean, the hedges, the hills, and the highways, that's really beautiful. And, I hear you, and I remember that story from the Bible from my early days when I engaged with the good book. I think it's so interesting that we can find, examples of that in other faiths as well, right? Because that's when you start to know that it's universal. Like, the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, that was his whole thing, right? And I just really appreciate that you sharing that. Who's doing that for us now? Who's modeling that? Anyone come to mind to you that's modeling that in our culture? I mean, the whole of global world. Who's I used to think, Nelson Mandela modeled that, right? Who's modeling it today?
I think Jimmy Carter does a phenomenal job.
Amen. Let's praise Jimmy. He's a
admirer
king.
Of Jimmy Carter since I was a child.
Me too, baby. I was just 1 year too young to vote for him in the second, and I felt personally responsible for Reagan's presidency because I couldn't vote.
Right. I hear that.
Yeah, true that, because he was so maligned as president, and yet he has risen above so graciously, so extraordinarily.
And I think about my friends who are street preachers, and how they literally go out and they meet the people where they are, and they don't have any judgment about anything about them. They just shower them with love, and they connect them with whatever it is they need. My one who's a street preacher is always posting, does anyone have some diapers? Does anyone have a bed that they're not using? They're just constantly in the community, like you said, in the byways and hedges, meeting the people where they are.
That goes back to number 2 on that list, right? Recognizes and honors the image of the divine in every human being. Everyone has agency and dignity, Why don't we go to Carla next, since she'd been the first. Erica, I want to make sure that you've shared what you wanted to share now. I don't want to cut you off if there was more you wanted to bring into the circle.
There's always more. I did want to say, I heard Karen trying, getting in there, so I appreciate what she was saying as well, recognizing what she, contributed. So, and I know this is y'all's room, I know, but I don't want to talk over anybody.
Well, let's make another room soon. And let's have more of these career. I'm down. I would love it. I'm so happy to come into your acquaintance right now and here. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rest the mic at this point. Thank you.
Drop that mic, Carla. Get that mic. Oh.
It's so good to be here. I know Karen's always inviting me to things, and I haven't been able to participate. But I tell you, I've been spending my time between Canada and San Francisco, and I can just tell you, it is different outside of the United States.
Girl, I was in Vancouver over the weekend, and you are right.
I am here. I am here. And the community, to be in the community with other Black women, Caribbean, and African women of all different ages, it is just a renaissance. And I can tell you that the conversation is elevated, right? It is no longer, there is a Americana way and a U.S. way that keeps us all down, right? And we keep talking about these things, but we also don't show up for people like we should. And so when we're talking about this community, it's like, I had a fire at my apartment in San Francisco. And I can tell people about, I had a fire in my apartment. I mean, and they will not ask, like, oh, well, here, there's this assistance for you. They won't tell me where a realtor is. They'll tell, oh, that's bad, girl, that happened to you.
Or I remember when I had a fire in my tent, right? Or whatever, right?
Well, no, we, as showing up for each other, whether it's black women or white women or whatever. In San Francisco, I can tell people what's going on, and they will give me the history of racism. They will give me the history of how things are bad, but they will not do. And there's an issue with what we mean by showing up in community. Where when I'm on this side of the border, I tell somebody I need them. They're like, okay, I know a realtor. I know a person in immigration. I know a person, and they will literally bring those people to you. They will make those introductions. They will find the money. They asked me to be a part of a membership of a group of women, and they found the bank that sponsored it for me to be in there. And it was a couple $1,000s. And there's a difference in what we are saying is what it means to show up and show out, right? We have gotten into poverty capitalism, and we are, what I mean by we is, women, BIPOC women, we were all together, or our white allies, they're so used to us, like, doing something that makes capital. Right?
Yes,
but
yes.
It's not about like coming and meeting our sisters' needs and what it means to like have a home, have a job, being able to do that. And I think that's, a lot of that is us, not, we're so used to getting philosophized or whatever, but we're not actually into like, okay, there needs to be money. There used to be circles. I don't know. I think I'm losing a lot of my, I'm here in Canada. I'm having trouble with the bandwidth. So
no, you're good. You mean like the
I want to make sure you can hear me.
Mutual aid.
The thing is, we used to show up like I would say my grandmother's generation and great grandmother's generation, when people came to California, they would help them find housing, a job.
Yep.
They would pool their money and resources together. They would get them, attorneys or whatever they needed to be able to purchase a home and things like that, and be able to do that. Nowadays, we will give somebody a website to some nonprofit, or we will just like listen to them rant, and we will come up with a way. So what I'm always trying to understand with community is what is that community doing, or is it more, especially when I'm on our side of the border, and what does it mean to really be in community?
Oh, you just muted yourself, Carla. There you go.
No, I muted myself because like I'm leaving it there because like the thing is that there's so much of this, like, talking about what's going on. I personally, I've been getting my Trump plan together.
Yeah, for real. I was just in Whistler, and
we know what's gonna happen.
Well, I was in Whistler in May, and I was like saying to everyone, you got room in your garage, you got room in your basement. The thing that I also want to say about what you were just describing, and then we should get Sheila and So Long, if I'm not hopefully pronouncing your name right, and then go back to just discussing the last three to wrap us up before the top of the hour. But I really appreciate everything you said, and it really resonates with me. I mean, just even being in Vancouver this weekend, I remember we were at the beach, and my husband was like, he said to my daughter and me, you guys, I know you don't have to go to the bathroom, but you just got to go see what a public bathroom looks like in a country where people are like caring for each other. And we were like, what is this? We took a photo. It was so clean. It was like super clean. And I know all the ones I would go to at the beach in California was like, Lord, help me. I know that mutual aid is something immigrant communities still do really well. But we used to do it. It also became considered country and old school and negative. So there was something about the push to modernism, which was Madison Avenue construct of capital and acquiring things and individuality that made that interdependence seem obsolete or even corny and lame. And I think our charge as people with an eye towards beloved community is to say, oh, hell no, that is not what it is. And we are reclaiming it. It is indigenous, it is collaborative, it is co-creative, and we are claiming it. And you see it with the Gen Z, my daughter's generation. They don't like the way we have it set up. So I really appreciate that, and I want you to share your exit plan notes with us, because we're gonna just hold the faith. For now, Sheila, we got a few more months to live, so let's live with joy. Sheila, you're next. Hi.
Thank you. Hi, can everyone hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. I apologize. I couldn't figure out the unmute earlier. So I actually wasn't even aware of this webinar. I popped onto LinkedIn and I saw it in my notifications, and the topic really interested me. If it's okay for me to share a brief personal story.
Absolutely.
I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and last March I moved to Charleston, South Carolina.
A place I know well.
Okay, who is that?
That's Rosie. My husband used to be the director of music for the Spoleto Festival, and my mother was born there, so I spent a lot of time in Charleston.
Oh, I would love to talk to you, because I ended up moving there and for cost of living reasons, and I started building a house, and I honestly came back 4.5 months later. I decided not to stay, and to just summarize why, I couldn't believe the deep levels of racism that I continued to see in that region. I thought it was a part of the past. I thought they had moved on, and I spent a lot of time talking to the African American children and teens in the community I was building in, which was in Somerville. And I don't know if you guys have seen those like emojis where the person's face is in shock. I mean, I drove back to California, and for the last year I've had that look on my face, in my mind emotionally, because I still have not been able to fully process what I witnessed. And I have been desperately trying to get involved in different things, and I'm trying to find those things to, just put an end, try to do my part to put an end to this continued racism that I didn't realize was still such a problem in that region.
It's deeply entrenched. Sheila, I just sent you a connect thing. We can talk more, because
I would love to, because I'm honestly, the reason I'm asking this is because I happen to be Persian. I was born and raised in California, but my parents are from Iran. And while I was in the South, I was telling people, like, do you know there's blacks in Iran? There's blacks in Egypt. I mean, this is not a American race. This is, they're everywhere. These people are everywhere. And we all came from Africa originally. The human species started there. And I was met with these looks of, I can't tell if it's ignorance, if they just don't know that fact. Like, to this day, I want to understand the root of it in that region, because I don't know if it's a lack of education and awareness, or if it's just an unwillingness to accept these facts.
I have so much lived experience. We're going to talk more. I think it's the latter. I think it's also a perfectionist streak, to not want to be proven not knowing anything or lacking in any kind of knowledge or perspective. And I also think there's a hell of a lot of spite. And also there's still a thing of, like, even though it's a city that's experienced extreme in-migration from around the country, it still is an old southern city. And so much to say. I've been married almost 30 years, and I've gone. This is the first year I haven't gone for the festival. And I've seen a lot of change, but I've also seen a swing back. So more to come on that, because it's the holy city, but it's not that beloved. Oh my gosh, thank you. I wanted to say more. Serendipity of you finding this talk. Thank you for that. And I want to give Tholang, please tell me how to pronounce your name, sis. I'm feeling the pain here.
Hi, everybody. It's evening my time. My name is Tulang. So the
Tulang.
H is silent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so thank you for creating this. I've been longing to meet women who are dynamic in the sense that they don't leave their spirituality aside. Because I feel like we all have to be grounded somewhere, and where we usually, I don't know for other people, but for myself, I usually tap into my spirituality to be grounded. And when I do that, then my whole being comes into place. So I was really just happy to see this, and I'm just happy to hear everybody's perspective on the topic. I joined late, so I found you guys speaking about missionary in the streets, and what I picked up was that as a Christian, for instance, I'm Christian, we miss the mark when it comes to what Christianity is about. It's not about judgment, which is what we do. It's not about imposing our own opinions and behaviors on other people, but it's about loving other people in such a way that they are inspired to change in a positive way. That's what, for me, it's about. So I was really happy to hear about the last bit when you said, there's some missionaries that go onto the streets to preach to people. That's what it should be about, really. No judgment, just love.
Tolang, thank you so much. Where are you calling in from?
I'm from South Africa.
Wonderful.
Johannesburg, South Africa.
Joburg in the house.
Joburg in the house.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Karen. Thoughts?
Yes. Do you hear there's a little bit
there's
of
an
echo? Do you?
There was an echo from me. Yeah.
I'm not sure what. Okay, now I think it's good. Thank you so much for joining us, Holang, and everyone. Carla, Sheila, Erica, thank you for your comments.
Yeah. Okay, I was just making sure you could still hear me, and there's no more echo. Good. This is such a juicy conversation. Oh my goodness, I would like to just read the next three. We're not going to really have time to get into them because we want to share a little bit about what we're doing and what's coming next, and invite you all to help elevate and uplift that. But the next three are, beloved community. I think that this idea of beloved community is accessible to everyone, whether they have an official faith practice or not, or if their practice is deep humanism, or they're a seeker, or they're whatever it is. That's why I love this concept so much, is I believe it's open source, open-ended enough, but rooted in love, which is should be the core element of all of our operations. Number 13 is the beloved community releases resentment and bitterness through self-purification, i.e. avoidance of internal violence through spiritual, physical, and psychological care. I love that. My therapist said to me, what are you doing for yourself this week? Are you dancing? Are you moving? Are you eating? Are you taking care of yourself? And I think that is her reminding me to create beloved community. Erica, I see your hand. Hold that thought for 1 sec. I'm going to just read the other two just so we have them in the hopper. Number 14 is beloved community focuses energy on removing evil forces, unjust systems, not destroying persons. And to me, that's the whole fail of a lot of white evangelists right now, who the New York Times said this week, many of them don't even believe in Jesus or God or anything. They're just caught on to a political agenda and using this very strange thing, which in my learning of scriptures, like false God, i.e. the devil, but we'll get there later. It's all about, dragging people down and laughing at people and the whole MAGA thing that we got going on in the U.S., right? Not beloved community. The inverse, whatever the opposite of beloved is. And then the last one is beloved community has unyielding persistence and unwavering commitment to justice. So those are kind of linked. Really important. Erica, let's get Erica back on the stage, and then we'll wrap up with some final words from you, Karen. Thanks.
Sounds good.
There you go, Erica. You can come off mute. Hi.
Hi. I'm trying to remember the last thing you said because it sparked a thought. Do you remember the last thing you said?
The part about destroying people.
Before that.
Self-purification, avoidance of internal violence through spiritual, physical, and psychological care.
Somewhere before that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember.
Resolves conflicts peacefully. It's accessible to everyone.
Thank you. I'm good. The mental loop caught up.
Okay.
So in Western culture, I have so much to say in response to what the last two people said, but in Western culture, we're taught to eradicate pain, to get rid of it. But really, when we're talking about the rest of the world, in the Eastern world, we're taught to hold pain. And that pain and joy and pleasure, to some extent, can exist at the same time.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game or binary existence, if you will. So I just feel like a lot more of that needs to happen for people to, and again, this is not coming from a place of judgment. This is just coming from, pure life experience. Purely integrating this into a practice, right? Understanding that we don't necessarily have a right to a pain-free life.
Right.
That we can, in fact, right, be uncomfortable and it won't be fatal or final. And that we have the right to live a messy, humanized experience.
I'm writing that down. Messy, humanized experience. I love it. Oh my gosh.
And as the unpacking of whiteness, right? And white supremacy is ever unfolding prayerfully in everyone's practice. The idea is that self-interrogation is important. Sitting in the discomfort is of value. Having yourself accountable for the disquiet that is rumbling within yourself. Not aiming to correct someone else. Not aiming to say but what I meant. Because when those things are sparked inside of you, you need to sit in that.
Hallelujah, sister. Where you been all week? I think I received those words so incredibly acutely. That is a real gift. That was the gift for my week, what you just said, frankly. And I think that's what these beloved community circles can actually do too. We just did, you may not have meant to, but you just provided enormous care and co-creation of a brighter vision and a different paradigm. And I'm super grateful. I want to invite you all to know about what we're doing next. It's probably too late for many of you now, but we're coming together in San Francisco as a group to talk and dive into these and other key concepts a little more. And we've decided, in honor of Juneteenth, to make it maybe a little easier for some folks if they want to join us. Karen, take it away.
Yes. So Rosie is talking about the Interracial Sisterhood Retreat that she and I are co-facilitating. It starts on Thursday night, July 18th, with a welcome reception, and then it's all day on Friday, July 19th, and Saturday, July 20th, at the beautiful Kabuki Hotel here in San Francisco, Japantown neighborhood. And our welcome reception is at the African American Arts and Culture Complex, a beautiful, beautiful building. And we're just so excited. We have amazing women and non-binary people.
Okay, we lost the sound, but I can tell you more. Women and non-binary people coming together, and we're going to really talk about how we can be more supportive of each other, but also, like, the women of color, I'm going to be primarily working with that group, and we're going to really be looking at some of the things that we've talked about today. What are some of the lies and stories that hold us back from each other? Even black women with each other, black women with brown women, et cetera, et cetera. Then we want to come together with our white friends and share the needs, the vision, the things that haven't been seen, so we can collectively start to build a different paradigm. So what we decided to do is, there's still about maybe 7 or 8 slots left. And we'd love to fill those spaces. And so, if you write Karen, if you find Karen Fleshman and DM her, she can give you a code that is a special Juneteenth discount. We are 2 women creating this work out of a place of shared purpose. There's no other shadow entity behind what we're doing. We just want to be sure that we can, deliver this to the people and start to create real momentum around it. And so I know it's soon, it's in 4 weeks, but we did want to tell you, because these talks have been sort of like our fuel to juice us up to get ready to do this together. And it's not going to be a thing where we're sitting there on the mountaintop telling everyone. This is like going to be extraordinarily co-creative, and we're excited to share that with you. Karen, have the audio monsters come back and stricken you again, or do you have final words for the group before we head out? Well, it looks like the audio monster has come again, so I think maybe that's a sign that we need to put a cork in this week. Thank you all for joining in on this talk, and really appreciate the extraordinary comments that was shared. And for those of you who didn't share anything, if you have thoughts you want to add, you can throw them in the chat for this event, or you can write Karen, and we just love to be in more conversation. Marla, thank you. You were quiet, and Sima, but I appreciate your being here the whole time and being part of this circle. And we just want to wish you all a beloved weekend, and we'll be back soon. I forget. Follow Karen to know when the next one is. We'll have number 4 and really look forward. And thank you all very, very much for coming together with us. It's really very heartwarming. Yep. All right. I think we're good.